What is going on? It's Alex coming back at you with another video, and today the Draft Network dropped a mock draft, so I'm here to review it. If you are new, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Below my face is my board. Below that are all the great ways to get involved with the community, as well as take advantage of our two sponsors, Olipop as well as UnderDog Fantasy, so be able to take full advantage of those. We do actually have a new sponsor that most likely will be coming in on the 1st of February, which is going to be great, and they're going to be very complimentary there to our boys over there at UnderDog Fantasy. I was going to drop the beginning of our 3-round mock draft today with trades, but I'm going to be 100% honest. I just wanted to make sure I uploaded it a little bit earlier for you guys. So it's going to be uploaded tomorrow. And yes, I'm going to be going back with the Baker Mayfield headband because everybody says I look like Baker Mayfield. You know, I'll just take it as it is. I love Baker, so I'm going to be perfectly happy taking it as it is. We are doing re-evals at the moment. As of next week, we're going to be doing all 22s, so I'm very, very excited for that. Let's get right into this, though. Starting out with the number 1 overall pick. This is done by Ryan Fowler. So, it's good to see, like, TDN actually doing something because, they unfortunately have kind of dropped off a cliff, but they still have some pretty good analysts here. The Bears select Marvin Harrison Jr. at number 1. This is a live reaction, by the way, just because it makes it more fun for you as well as for me. We are going to be starting to continue mock drafts. So like mock the mock, then what will return, and we'll add in those second rounds, which is going to be super exciting. But Bears go Marvin Harrison Jr. at selection number 1. For me, again, the Bears, the wide receiver class thinned out a bit. So it is understandable why the Bears, especially without a second round pick, could be looking to, acquire a little bit more in terms of the value that they have for wide receiver. You can't really get good value down the board, so you have to just get best of the best. If they don't want to trade out of this spot or go after Caleb Williams, this is the only logical answer. So for me, I'd prefer to go after resetting that quarterback clock in terms of the amount of money you have to put in the quarterback position and, take a shot on probably the best of the best. But Marvin Harrison Jr. is my number 1 player in the class. So, therefore, he is the best of the best. At pick 2, the Commanders go Caleb Williams. Very excited to use him another graphic because I love using Caleb Williams in Washington Commanders uniforms because there's just not very many good Bears ones. I just got to be 100 with y'all. It's sometimes nice to be able to use images that I've been waiting to be able to put in my thumbnails. And so, very excited for that. Bringing him back home, Commanders could certainly use it. I heard that there's actually a lot of momentum towards Ben Johnson being the new HC for Washington. Intriguing for sure, because we'll definitely see what happens there. But Washington does have a bright future. Again, 3 top 50 picks. Like that is an easy way to flip the franchise if there are some good fallers. At pick number 3, the Patriots go Drake Maye. I've done this like a billion times. I swapped it out for Marvin Harrison Jr. in the last mock draft, but, it is what it is. Drake Maye, super high upside. We'll see if Gerard Mayo is the guy who I would trust to, make Drake Maye as good as possible. I don't really think it is. Power to him, though. He's a good coach. I just don't know if he's going to maximize the offensive potential of this team. And Drake Maye to me feels similar to Justin Herbert when he was coming out. A lot of risk, but obviously if they end up hitting, they end up becoming like Justin Herbert. So it's understandable why you would be willing to take the swing. At pick number 4, the Cardinals go Olu Fashanu. I actually went left tackle for the Cardinals, and I think I went Olu Fashanu yesterday. So again, feel free to check out that 2-round, no trade, 1 trade. It was Justin Fields mock draft there yesterday because it is a very fun one. So we'll see what happens, but Olu Fashanu going to the Cardinals. They do need a left tackle. DJ Humphries had an unfortunate leg injury at the end of the year, and they're out of range with pick 27, I believe, for them to go after a tackle there to actually start. So, unfortunately, this is out of pure necessity, but they should probably try to trade back, get some extra draft capital, and then still be able to get a starting tackle, maybe kick Paris Johnson back to left tackle. At pick 5, the Chargers go Malik Neighbors. I've heard some rumors that quite a few analysts have him as the best wide receiver since Jamar Chase. I'm not there yet. I do think that you have a better wide receiver in this class, Marvin Harrison Jr. Malik Neighbors, though, in the correct role could be as effective. It's just, I don't think he's, like, people were saying he's Garrett Wilson before the catch, because that's Connor Rogers' quote. Y'all know how much I love Connor Rogers. I didn't see that. and I was a big Garrett Wilson guy. So maybe I need to dig even more into the tape. And when we start doing all 22s together, that is going to be exactly what we do. But I mean, that's a big name to throw in there, because I loved Garrett Wilson a lot, and I did not see that exactly with Malik Neighbors. At pick 6, the Giants go Jayden Daniels, so thank you for having the other part of my thumbnail right there. Love Jayden Daniels to the Giants. I'm intrigued to see if Daniel Jones could get traded potentially with the cap situation. I don't think he could, so that's the only unfortunate part. But Jayden Daniels is a far superior product, has the mobility of Daniel Jones, needs to work on his middle field vision, but the athleticism makes up for it in the short run as he develops his overall vision. At pick 7, the Titans go Joe Alt. It's pretty much a lock that the Titans go offensive line, and Joe Alt would be literally the perfect addition for this team. At pick number 8, the Falcons go Laiatu Latu out of UCLA. Reevaluated him today, boosted him up quite a bit. He is now a top 32 prospect on my board. So, as I said, my evaluations are not done until all the tape is watched. He's a phenomenal prospect. I do think he is a little overrated in terms of his lower body. That's not very powerful. He's not the most athletic guy in the world. His legs do look a little chunky. But the upper arm strength is ridiculous. The length, ridiculous. The block shedding, he's one of the best, I would say. You could say block shedders, but I would say disengagers that I've ever seen. Like, he knows how to get off a block. Maybe not to get past a block, because he does that really, really well. But in terms of being the best that I've seen, it is getting off a block. So Laiatu Latu certainly is going to be an asset. I do worry about him in the run game, because he is really hit or miss. I will see him get driven off the ball, or else, absolutely blow up a play. So it's really interesting kind of seeing Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, so to speak, with that. But, you are taking him there for the upside. The Falcons should be going a QB, but if they end up bringing in Harbaugh, then you'll probably be seeing that as a second round or a late first to move up. At pick number 9, the Bears go Amarius Mims. It doesn't really make very much sense for the Bears to go after a right tackle that will be moving to left or kicking Darnell to left. That just doesn't really make much sense for me. The Bears aren't that desperate for an offensive tackle. With the top tier edge rushers on the board, I'd be targeting that position right there. So really a little bit confused in terms of that. At pick number 10, the New York Jets go Brock Bowers. He can essentially act as an offensive tackle. I'd prefer to go after just an offensive tackle, but he is, a generational style weapon for me. Just tight ends don't offer the same value as a top tier receiver. If you think about it, one of them is going to get 1,800 yards. Another one's going to get about 1,200. Those are both elite numbers for respective positions. So the usage is different. Of course, when you look at the wins above replacement, sometimes it's the first down that takes like 8 yards that a tight end can get versus, the big playability for a wide receiver. Their usage is different. So I'm just trying to, explain why maybe I wouldn't take Brock Bowers ahead of a Malik Neighbors, even though sometimes I do. Pick number 11, the Vikings go Michael Penix. There is also the other part of the thumbnail. So we have the three-headed monster. We got Penix in purple. We have Daniels in blue, and then we also have Caleb in red. So very excited to have those guys on the thumbnail, but Michael Penix in purple is exactly where I want him to be, just a little bit early, given his age, given the fact that he's a 6th year, given the fact that he's had 3 season-ending injuries. There's just legitimate concerns in terms of that. Pick 12, the Broncos go Bo Nix. I love Bo Nix. I feel like anybody who's at least remotely okay with Bo Nix in the first round is known as a truther, which just shows you how little people actually watch football. Bo Nix, I can understand if you're saying, hey, I don't believe Bo Nix is a first-round talent and maybe he should be a second, but the people who come at the Bo Nix, like people who actually like Bo Nix or even are okay with him, like football is about having fun, guys. It's not always about attacking people for their opinions. So, just a note to some of y'all who go out on Twitter and just absolutely eviscerate people for actually having some form of faith in Bo Nix, who has had a crazy career resurgence after a crap system there at Auburn. Like, he's a great player. And, I do have him one spot above Drake Maye because he has a higher floor, in my opinion. But 6.7 average depth of target, very short compared to the other prospects in the class. Of course, when you have Bucky Irving, who is a stud, sometimes it's nice to throw that way. Tez Johnson, screen threat. That guy's an absolute weapon. So there's a lot of really good options that Oregon had for the short game. There's an understanding. There's a reason why, he has a very good reason to throw that short range. So I think Bo Nix is going to be a great asset there for the Broncos. I wouldn't mind it at all. At pick 13 for the Raiders, they go Nate Wiggins. I think that going after at least just a star piece on the defense, just something to get some momentum on this squad, a day one impact is a smart move. I have other defensive backs graded higher, but Nate Wiggins is still a very good corner. With the loss of Denzel Burke in the class, he also ascended up an extra cornerback slot. He's a good player, very smart, a little bit on the thinner side, and I don't think he's a great asset in the run game for that reason. 185 pounds at 6'2", a little bit on the smaller side, but very smart, good player to have in your secondary. At pick number 14, the Saints go Talise Fuaga to train to be the left tackle for the Saints in the future. I think that's a very smart move. Talise is my number 2 tackle in the class, my number 1 right tackle in the class, and I would love to see him continue to develop into the superstar that I know he can be. And he's about a year out from being better than Olu Fashanu, in my opinion, but it really depends on where he goes. This would be a great battleground for him to learn from Ryan Ramczyk, as well as compete with Trevor Penning. At pick 15, the Colts go Cooper DeJean. I've gone this route several times. I don't think he's going to be just a pure boundary corner. I think he'll be a great asset there at safety. Blackman's up for a contract, so it would be very smart to have a player like DeJean there who, even if you don't keep more, you can have him in the slot, or you can put him where Blackman was at safety. So, love the versatility there. Pick 16, the Seahawks go Chop. I think Chop is a little bit rawer than what I'd expect for the Seahawks to grab at 16. They developed Boye Mafe very well, so I still think they could have a lot of success with Chop Robinson, but I don't think he's edge 2 at the moment. And, with guys like Dallas Turner, Braylon Trice, and, the rest of the crew, I think those guys offer a better day one prospect, and Seattle still is in the hunt for a Super Bowl. You don't really want to exactly take swings on prospect edge rushers, especially if it's a new head coach coming in. They usually are more on the, safe than sorry side. So if you want to go after someone who's a little bit on the lighter side, who has that high upside, that's going to be Dallas Turner. But I do really love the idea of getting Tavondre Sweat on the Seahawks. Like, just deep down, that's a small goal of mine. Jerzon Newton would have been the best choice, however, but, trade back, get some extra picks since you lost your second rounder and get Tavondre Sweat. I'd be a pretty big fan of that. Jacksonville then goes Jerzon Newton. I think going after a corner with the proper value is a little bit better of an idea for Jacksonville, but, I'm never going to gash a team for winning in the trenches. It's just something where even if the value is not right, you can't fully blame them. Like, I gave the Kalijah Cansey pick a C+ for Tampa Bay, not because Kalijah was a bad player at all, but because I thought that, with Will Levis on the board, they could have went after more of a future option. Looks like they did the right thing. But, if that was really a player, or if that was a position outside of the trenches that I thought was an absolute waste of a pick, it's instant D to F range, right? So for me, whenever you get to win in the trenches, that's when I am like, okay, even if I don't like the pick because of the options that are available, I would, I'm in full support of it. So Jaguars getting Jerzon Newton is going to be an addition. And again, winning in the trenches is kind of a big deal. At pick 18, the Bengals go Romo Dunze. This is the Brett Coleman special. He would be a great addition there in Cincy because he can play on the boundary or play in the slot. So good player. Pick number 19 at Los Angeles Rams go J.C. Latham. He's going to be kicked to left tackle, but at the same time, there is a lack of left tackles available. It's worth taking the risk in trying to develop him into your starter. At pick 20, the Steelers go Kool-Aid McKinstry. Would have been my pick for the Jaguars personally, but I'm not going to complain about him pairing up with Joey Porter Jr. Their skill sets are complementary. I think Kool-Aid is a very solid man-to-man corner, very physical as well. I don't believe he is as field aware as Joey Porter was, and so it might be a nice one too. And they are not like close in terms of their skill set, but they're kind of almost the opposites. So It's intriguing. It just depends on how much trust I have in the DC and the DB's coach to properly use them versus different looks from the offense. Because if you have like Kool-Aid doing some stuff that Joey Porter Jr. should be doing, and JPJ is essentially doing what Kool-Aid should be doing, they just don't work as well in their respective roles if it's flopped. So they really are complementary. I just hope that, if you use them properly, it could be a very, very nasty corner duo. If used incorrectly, it could be a complete waste of talent. Pick number 21, the Dolphins go Tyler Guyton. Extreme reach, in my opinion. For somebody who is a right tackle, you'll need to move him to left. And I don't think he has interior offensive line versatility. So you don't get that short-term addition. You don't get that long-term really either. With someone like Jordan Morgan on the board, who could be a really good interior offensive lineman out the gate in the future left tackle, makes a lot more sense, especially after signing Austin Jackson to a multi-year contract. So I don't really get that one personally. Braylon Trice goes to Philly. That's honestly the best pick you can kind of ask for. He was the leader in pressures this year by a significant margin, and that's after a slow start to the year. So great player. He's getting a re-eval as well. He actually might end up being my number one edge rusher. The Texans then take Dallas Turner, my actual number one edge rusher, to pair him back up with Will Anderson. Not a big need by any stretch, but you are getting best player available, and this is a pretty solid defensive interior class. So I would have to see what round 2 had in store. Maybe you could still get a Byron Murphy in round 2. Then that would make it worth it. The Dallas Cowboys then select Graham Barton, center out of Duke. He actually played left tackle, but he'll end up being a center for the Cowboys. I'd prefer to go after Jordan Morgan just because he's a true left tackle. And then, worst case scenario, you can kick him into guard and kick Tyler Smith out to tackle. Like, I'd prefer a true left tackle. I wouldn't take a right tackle. I would take a true left tackle and then, take the risk on going after a center later on or having to redevelop somebody as a center. Graham Barton still would be a very solid suggestion, and I think it would be a perfectly fine pick. I would give it probably a B+. Pick number 25 for the Green Bay Packers to go Terrion Arnold. I think this is a phenomenal pick, my corner 1 in the draft, so it's pretty obvious. I think the value is pretty damn good, and it's a team that could certainly use another piece in their secondary. It's a very good team. I've been saying it all year. They're very, very complete, and they have a ton of draft capital still, which is weird. But it's very rare to find a team, like essentially has been the Eagles of recent note, and as well as the Lions, where they're a team with very specific minimal holes with really good draft capital. And that's going to be the Green Bay Packers this year. At pick 26, the Buccaneers go Jared Verse. So obviously phenomenal value. Should have been going earlier, but it is what it is. Verse stays in Florida, and they get a phenomenal player. Their veterans certainly are getting older. It's going to be a great way to replace them. The Cardinals then select Xavier Legette, going full offense in round number 1. It's a little bit rich for me to go a full offense for him with the great defensive interiors still on the board. You got Tavondre Sweat. You have Byron Murphy. I think that's just going to be your best bang for your buck. Of course, it depends on where you think the defensive interiors will go, because I think you have pick 35 or 34. So it might be 36 if we're counting 4 from pick number 32. But regardless, you are still having a really early pick, so you could certainly still get very good value at defensive interior. Xavier Legette at 6'3", 227 is a great wide receiver, and he'd be a fun addition there with Michael Wilson. I would love to see those two pair up. Be your twin tall dudes there to revert away from a pretty RIP reference there. But 6'3", 227 would be nice to have that size, that speed, overall great ability. Chiefs then select Keon Coleman at 28. It's not something I would expect in a Kansas City Chiefs offense, but I've always been saying it. It would be really cool to see how the Chiefs offense would evolve with Keon Coleman. When they drafted Rashee Rice, I was like, yeah, that feels like a wide receiver that the Chiefs would have. Like, I thought he was going to be directly into the Juju Smith-Schuster role. He actually has had a little bit more after the catch threat, which great for Raw. Very happy to hear that for him. Like, pony up. And, that's great. With Keon Coleman, this is going to be something that I haven't seen yet in the Chiefs offense for a very long time. So I would be more intrigued than supported are supportive of this pick. So feel free to give me your thoughts about that. Buffalo Bills then go Brian Thomas. So we have a run on wide receiver here. He's going to be a really nice number 2 wide receiver, and he complements Justin. Why do I want to say Justin Jefferson? RIP to that idea. But Stephon Diggs very, very well. I'm pretty sure the Stephon Diggs pick that Buffalo sent ended up being Justin Jefferson too. So that's probably why I just thought of that. But regardless, Stephon Diggs, Brian Thomas would be a nice 1-2 punch. Detroit Lions then select Ennis Rakestraw Jr. With the loss of our Denzel Burke, the corner class is thinning slightly. It is unfortunate, but of course, that just means we have better players next year. So appreciate it. My future me is saying thank you. My current me is saying screw you to Denzel Burke, even though I would never send Denzel Burke to Detroit for PTSD reasons of Lions fans and first-round Ohio State corners, i.e. Jeff Okudah. But at pick 30, cornerback is a perfectly solid route to go. I still need to get Ennis Rakestraw, all 22 studied and fully evaluated before I give a full opinion of him, but edge rusher probably would be a better route. Defense interior, Byron Murphy would be a really good route as well, a very sneaky one. And then you could talk about corner. The Niners then select Troy Fautanu, tackle/guard out of Washington. He's my number 27 player in the class. I have him solely as an interior, so I don't really know if he would be the guy who I would target for San Fran. I would probably go after Lassiter at this point, Kamari, and just develop a super freaky athlete. I think San Francisco, I think that San Francisco is a very, very prime suspect, especially with the amount of compensatory picks they get in order for a massive move up. So talking about for the Broncos, for example, a team that might want to move back, acquire more picks. This is a great team to move up and still snag a top-tier right tackle. And so just keep your eye out on that because this team doesn't need very much. It's very similar to what I just talked about with the Packers, with the Eagles, etc. Then we end off the draft with Baltimore going Byron Murphy. He is number 13 on my board, one of my blue chip players, IDL1 for me. Completely different skill set than the majority of them, but 310. He has almost some Jalen Carter-esque to him. Very entertaining to watch. I'd be scared shitless as a Steelers fan. I don't think the Ravens are that desperate for defensive interior, but they could certainly use a 3-tech in there. So let me know what you think. Thank you so much for watching. Showing the love as you always do. See you on the far side. Peace.